Hello, friends from Resurrection, St. Anne, St. Michael parishes. Welcome to this week's Quick Things, which will be a conversation. But first of all, just a couple important announcements. First of all, a reminder of our new series of Grief Share meetings, which begin on Wednesday afternoon, September 6th. That's at 1 o'clock at Resurrection. For people who are dealing with various aspects of grief, regardless of a timeline, regardless of who's absence we're grieving, we invite you to check that out again at 1 o'clock on Wednesday at Resurrection. That continues for several weeks at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays at Resurrection. And then the real thing I want to emphasize this week are our homeless shelter organizational meetings, team meetings coming up next week. So we'll gather with folks from Resurrection in St. Michael at 6:30 on Tuesday in the St. Michael gathering space. And then St. Anne parishioners, we'll have an organizational meeting there at 6:30 on Thursday, September 14th. So Tuesday for Eastside Parish at 6:30 at St. Michael, Thursday for St. Anne at 6:30 and in the St. Anne gathering space. And those homeless shelter or team meetings are really the impetus for our conversation today. I'm glad to welcome Kevin Noel, who has been an instrumental figure in the development of the Community Partners campus, where the Catholic Charities homeless shelter, now called the Good Shepherd Shelter, is located. And so we talked a few weeks ago with Jeff Hancock, who's the Wausau Regional Director for Catholic Charities and kind of the director of the homeless shelter. And I've included the link with that conversation with Jeff in the Quick Things email and encourage you to check that out. He talks more at length about what the homeless shelter ministry entails and what the role of volunteers is in that process, and have since they've gone to a year-round offering, there's a greater need for volunteers, which is prompting our parish response. So we talked about the homeless shelter specifically with Jeff, but I wanted to talk with Kevin more about the Community Partners campus and which has really allowed campus Catholic Charities to expand what we do here in Wausau. So Kevin, thank you for joining me. A long introduction, but kind of wanted to set the scene for where we're at here.
Perfect.
Tell us, Kevin, would you start? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about where you come from. Well, you're from Wausau, right? But
Sure.
tell us a little more about yourself.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Wausau, and I attended St. James, which they've since torn down. And then I went on to Holy Name Seminary in Madison, and I studied there for a couple of years, and finished my last 2 years of high school at Newman, and then went on to UW Stout. After that, I took over a family business known as Home Insulation Company, and we were commercial roofing and insulation contractors. I turned that business over to my son in January after running it for 45 years. So I'm newly retired, and I'm getting used to working out in my shop every day, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. But anyway, my volunteerism is pretty legitimate, and it's started to be established in the early 80s when I helped to form Wausau area events. The chamber was having trouble with financial difficulties from all these events, so we started a separate corporation, and the first thing that we did was celebrate the Wausau Center Mall opening. And so that's how much time I've spent volunteering. But anyway, I've been involved in chamber things, and then I became involved in Habitat for Humanity, and I was on the local board for 9 years. I also traveled internationally with the Jimmy Carter Work Project to the Philippines. And so construction has been my life. And after leaving the Habitat Board, I noticed that, well, I knew that we were having trouble with collaboration because we had an office rented for our executive director. We had a warehouse rented for our recycled building materials. We had a warehouse rented for our tools. We had another office for our office manager. And the communication was very difficult.
That was just Habitat for Humanity, right, Kevin? That you're talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
So after my 9-year term on the board, I negotiated a deal with Keith Kasarik, who had just purchased Dave Caston Motors and had that building on Schofield Avenue for sale for a couple of years, and I made him a very low offer, and I told him that also with the very low offer, he would have to make a significant contribution, and that was my first contribution toward that facility. And I got it built, I got it bought, and immediately the recycled building materials warehouse began doubling in sales. And that's because everybody was under one roof and everybody was able to collaborate and communicate. And all of our stuff was in a single location. So I took a couple of years off, and I was chairman of ministry healthcare, St. Clair's Hospital. And I invited Tom Rao, who at the time was the executive director of the Neighbor's Place, to be on my board because I wanted the voice of the community's vulnerable citizens to be heard at that hospital level. And Tom confided in me that his building just wasn't working very well for him. And so I thought about that for 2 years and then decided to kind of come out of retirement and have that discussion. Let's find a new location for the Neighbor's Place. So initially I tried to buy the Wausau Daily Herald across the street, but Gannett wasn't very receptive to my offer. And I also knew that that building was much too large for just the Neighbor's Place. So I began looking for possible other fits, one of them being Catholic Charities, to move their shelter services in. Soon afterwards, I noticed other nonprofits struggling with locations, that namely the First Presbyterian Church Free Clinic. They had plans drawn up and they were ready to begin constructing a clinic in the basement of the church. And I had coffee with Jeff Todd one morning and I told him my vision, my idea for having a collaborative of nonprofits, and he was all in. And so I had my first three tenants: Catholic Charities, the Free Clinic, and of course, the Neighbor's Place. So soon after, North Central Community Action Program came forward with housing and needs for their offices. They were renting a substandard building and had substandard facilities to perform their mission. And then Marathon County came forward and said they'd like to help with mental health telehealth. And so we built out a section for Marathon County to share these offices, not only with North Central Healthcare and their telehealth program, but also with CART, which is the Crisis Assessment Response Team. It's a collaboration between North Central Healthcare and Marathon County Sheriff's Department to help those in their moments of crisis. We also have therapy dogs that come in from time to time. And Tracy Rieger, who is the City of Wausau homeless outreach coordinator, also uses this office space in there. So I'm drawing a blank on the other ones. Blessings in a Backpack has become a wonderful volunteer opportunity. Every Tuesday morning, starting at about 8 o'clock, they pack about 2,000 bags of food for elementary school children to eat on the weekends. When school is not in session, they don't have access to food. So Blessings in a Backpack covers that. We also have a diaper bank. We give away diapers in all shapes and sizes, as well as baby products, as well as feminine hygiene products, because we had been finding families either going without diapers or feminine hygiene products, or reusing diapers. So we're trying to end that practice as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of hardship.
Kevin, the last one, is that in addition to the Baby's Place? Because Neighbor's Place also has a Baby's Place.
That is the Baby's Place. That
Okay,
is the diaper
Baby's
bank.
Place. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, Community Partners Campus now with these 7 partners has become a wonderful human services facility. And you know, initially we anticipated serving about 15,000 people annually. But I'm here to tell you that we are already up to 26,000. Obviously, a lot of these people are repeat, You know,
Yeah.
they shop for their food, they get their diapers, they use the homeless shelter every night or 2 nights a week or 3 nights a week, depending on their needs. But I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish in the development and the vision of Community Partners Campus. And I think it's a model for every community in the United States, as well as the world, to
Well, I mean, I guess, Kevin, you're right. Just the collaboration is remarkable. The facility itself is just a very wonderful, beautiful facility for folks to come to. That's what I appreciate most, is not only are people coming to get food or have shelter or medical care, but they're coming to a very beautiful facility to receive those services. And I think that just is such an important part of upholding people's dignity, of just where we can go and the surroundings in which we receive that support.
You know, and that's thanks to a very generous community. Over the course of 4 years in the vision and the development of Community Partners Campus, my partner Brian Gumness and I were able to accumulate $7 million from the community to build that facility. So, I mean, hats off to Wausau, the businesses, the individuals, the churches, just fantastic support. So thank you for that.
Was that facility built? Was it a brand new facility? I was,
no,
go ahead.
Yeah, there was a portion of it that was existing.
Okay.
There was 17,000 square feet that was existing. It's located next to Thrive Church on Grand Avenue, across from St. Mary's Church, and St. Mary's Oratory. And
yeah, we try not to mention that, but okay.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's there. It's there.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there was 17,000 feet, and we added 8,000 square feet. We built the food bank and the community room. Are mainly housed in the new addition on the Grand Avenue end of the building.
I guess the thing that's intrigued me is just how you got these different organizations who kind of all they're on the same page in terms of why they exist, but they've all had their separate identity, they have different mission statements, etc. How you brought them all together into this collaborative effort?
I think just explaining, you know, I had several dog and pony shows, PowerPoints that I would give, and the title of it at the time was Envision Collaboration. And a lot of it was handshakes, right? And that's one of the things that you'll see at Community Partners Campus is our large mural in the community room, which indicates our commitment to the community, to the people, to be a partner. I think so many of the individuals that work for all of these nonprofits are so dedicated to helping people that sometimes it becomes a burden. I don't know if you've noticed that. You kind of have that job where you're dedicated to helping people, and man, you get pulled in many different directions. So with the promise of having others next to you with the same goals, with the same hopes, and the same dedication, I think that is really what interested all of the nonprofits into co-locating.
Yeah. Well, and I'm certainly grateful that Catholic Charities is one of the primary partners in that. Sometimes we as a church can be kind of I'm not sure what the word would be. We're not always willing to see the big picture on such things. I'm grateful that whoever was in charge in the conversations with you as it was willing to kind of see a bigger picture and move in that direction.
Yeah, we had several meetings over the course of 4 years.
Yeah, I'm sure. You know, the other thing is that it's allowed for expansion of services. So Catholic Charities and the Warming Center well, first of all, those were always a little problematic, the facilities they had. And they only really were allowed them to offer that shelter service in the winter. And now have a much larger facility, better facilities, to be able to go year round. I mean, people's need for shelter doesn't end on April 1st, obviously.
Right.
Were there other partners who were able to expand what they do because of the new facility?
Oh yeah, well, definitely the Neighbor's Place. I mean, big expansion. We took the Neighbor's Place food bank. So there's the Neighbor's Place food bank, and then there's the Neighbor's Place market, which used to be known as the pantry. But the food bank supplies 13 food pantries throughout the county, as well as Lincoln County. So if you think of it as your local bank where everybody goes to store their money and take withdrawals, that's what this food bank does. So the old facility had 45 spaces or in their pallet racking, right, for food storage. And now we have 150 spaces for food storage. So our capacity to store Feeding America shipments has tripled. So we're able to do more, and yeah, so that's good. Obviously the Baby's Place was kind of functioning, but now they have their very own little space, and it's a cute little store that people can go into and get supplied with diapers. Obviously the free clinic wasn't even really in existence with, Jeff Todd and Dr. Oswald were operating out of the second floor 12 by 12 office at the Catholic Charities homeless shelter on 3rd Avenue for many, many years. And that was the free clinic. Now we have 5 exam rooms. We have a procedure room. We have a full-blown lab. We have a pharmacy. We have 9 doctors. We have 20 nurses. We have 2 pharmacists, and we have 3 office staff. So it's a regular clinic. I mean,
well, it's a wonderful place.
Stethoscopes and everything.
I have some involvement with the medical college, and I know that a lot of the students do volunteer or experience work at the free clinic now is much more expansively than they were able to do before.
That was one of our hopes, and we involved MCW right away in hopes that they would use it as part of their curriculum, to be able to work shoulder to shoulder with a family physician and nurses in a clinical atmosphere was very, very valuable to MCW. So we're very proud to have them, and I mean, that's just another example of the volunteerism that takes place at Community Partners Campus. That on a daily basis, there is something for everybody to do there. And we have a wonderful break room. We have coffee. From time to time, we have pastries. And so feel free to drop in.
Too, because the people from all those different organizations need to be able to support and collaborate with one another, just in terms of the work they do, the ministry they do. So that the break room would be an important place.
Right. It's a great place where, over a cup of coffee, you happen to run into another employee of another mission, and you're sharing fundraising ideas, you're sharing mission ideas, you're talking about a particular case that maybe somebody can help out with. So it's really a great place.
I think it speaks to the whole idea of the project, of the whole entity, Kevin, that we're not myopic and only concerned with our little thing. It kind of, just by the nature of the facility, we're concerned about all the other different dynamics that are in play here. So
yeah, it's, and it's a very international place. We have Afghan families, we have Latin families, tall, short.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Can you tell me, when did you get, so the project is done, the different partners are in place. When did you walk through, or when was the moment that you thought, wow, this is exactly what I hoped it would be? Was there a moment
January.
that awareness?
January 2023. I worked all last summer as the project manager with our general contractor, Myron Construction, and it was a daily thing. I mean, it was making decisions about outlets, paint colors, flooring, lighting, just, I mean, unbelievable amount of work. And so last summer, I was so dedicated to getting that building built that finally in January, we were kind of up and running. We had the neighbor's place moved in. We had a couple of other missions moved in, and yeah. So anyway, but now if I stop in, I'm called into the office to sign something, and I do that. But afterwards, I go for a walk, and I walk, and I'm able to talk and stop in to see people, and you know, in this 4 years that CPC has been in development, I never heard a negative comment about the vision. And in the 9 months that CPC has been fully operational, I still have not heard a negative comment. And so that makes me feel real good.
And in our current environment, Kevin, that's almost
Yeah.
unheard of, isn't it? Wow.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I cut you off earlier. You were going to speak to how this is really a model for other communities. Could you talk more about that, or how do you see this concept evolving across the state or the country? I'm sure you've gotten lots of calls already.
We have. Yeah, we have. We gave a tour to the Eau Claire city administrator. She brought along several staff members. The city of Fond du Lac came to visit us. The city of Madison has come to visit us. And there are several hundred nonprofit collaboratives throughout the United States. Some are literacy, some are the arts, some are workspace. Ours is a little bit of a different niche. It's human services. Right. And of the human services collaboratives throughout the United States, there are not that many. There's probably about 50. And some are much bigger than us. You know, you get out to California and look at some of these collaboratives that they've constructed, they're enormous. And Texas and Arizona, they serve several thousand people per day. They have homeless shelters that have a 300 person capacity. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, we're not to that point, but Catholic Charities is very quickly expanding their services. As you know, initially they were November through April. Now, at nights, right, starting at 7 p.m., going till 8 a.m. And now they're going to be all day, every day. So, as you said earlier, the need for volunteers is going to be great.
All the more reason we need people to show up for our meetings next week.
Yeah, we really do. Yeah. We're really going to need some help. You know, and you're talking with Jeff Hancock. He's such a great guy. He's got such a love for our homeless population, and his outreach is fantastic, and the population listens to him, and they trust him, and they respect him. So there's no better man for that job, but he certainly needs support to do that. And so
we hope to fill some of that gap. So that's part of our reason for this conversation. Kevin, is there anything, are people able to stop in and just kind of walk through the facility if they're interested in seeing it? I've done that. I would encourage folks, if they can, to do it. It's just such an impressive.
Yep, we're a welcoming facility. The door is always open, well, during business hours anyway, which is normally 7 or 7:30 in the morning until about 5 p.m. Sometimes 4:30.
The best way to see it would be as a homeless shelter volunteer.
That would be a very good way
I'll
to
put in another plug.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, anything else you'd want to add?
No, thank you for your time, and thanks for having me. I don't know if you noticed, but I love talking about CPC, and I think it's a wonderful addition to our community, and we welcome each and every one of you anytime that you have the opportunity. We'll be happy to give you a tour.
Great. Well, something very much worth talking about. So thank you, Kevin. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week and hope to see you at church this weekend.